Welcome guys. So in this video we are going to talk about how we create a database in PostgreSQL. Okay, so let's start the video. So for this create database, this command is used inside the PostgreSQL and outside when you can use the C uh, for the usually the command prompt you can use create db utility. We'll see them in next slides. Okay, so create database, create a new PostgreSQL database. Okay, you can use that database to create tables and others. You use them. So for that you need to create a database. Only super users and the users with create database privilege can create a new db. So if you do not have create that database privilege, you will not be able to create a database, or with if you are not a super user you cannot. By default when you create a new database, so that the new database will be created by cloning the standard system database template one. We have standard templates for creating a database within PostgreSQL provided by them, which are template 0, template 1. So template 1 will be used all the time, and you can update or create a new template for your system so that you'll be using them in uh, your next creation of databases. So you can create your own template as well. So let's see how we create a database in Postgres, or what are the ways. So we can use create db utility. This is create db utility. You can create the uh, database with this utility inside. After setting up the environment variables, you will be able to use the utilities anywhere from the machine. So you can use create db. This is the syntax for that. Create db hyphen u, capital U, and the user Postgres. We are creating the user, creating the database with Postgres user hyphen p. This small hyphen p is for port, which is 5432, and hyphen capital O. This is for who is the owner of newly created database. So we are taking the owner as Scott. This is one user of the database, and this is the database name which we are going to create. Okay, so this is the complete syntax for it. We'll sing them in our mm, lab, and this is the syntax for dropping this database if we have to. So this is the simple syntax: drop db and then hyphen new, the username, and then the database name. So here you see capital hyphen capital U is with the user, connect with the user Postgres, hyphen capital O, and you can also use hyphen hyphen owner, and then is equal to Scott you can mention, but hyphen O is fine. Hyphen O, capital O, and then the username, small h, that is for host name, small p, that is for port. You can use host name if that user belongs to that database you want to create, or you want to create something on some other database, other host. But if you are just looking using the local host, so host name or port, that is not required. Port maybe, because you may have one or two instances of same Postgres on one particular server. So depending on this you can use it. So how, if your database user, if while you are using uh, this create database command inside the Postgres SQL, so you will require this create database test. This is the database name, test12, and the owner is Scott. Okay, and the drop syntax is also same, drop database test12. Okay, see the shell script for that creating it. If your user do not have the create db privilege, or you are not a super user, so you can ask someone who can have it or who can grant you that. So the syntax for that is also very simple: alter user Scott, the username, with create db. And also here alter user, you can have alter user, the username, with no creativity. This is for revoking the create db privilege. So let's see how we create it. And also this is when you want to, if you have a database and user created for you, you can use this syntax to connect to it. psql hyphen u, this is the your username, hyphen d, this is for your database name, hyphen small d, this is for database name. Okay, so if you are already connected to a database, so you can check which database you are connected to with this con info. Okay, this will tell you all the connection info with which database you are connected and with which username you are connected. And if you want to change your database, you can use /c and then db name. You will use test12 here. Okay, so that's all. And let's see and move to the lab where we are going to see everything. Okay, so first what we are going to use, we are going to use the creative utility. Let me first tell you what are the database we have. So /l is for listing out all the databases. Okay, so you see we have Postgres, template 0, template 1, and this is test database which I have created earlier. Okay, so if I want to check with which database I'm connected to, connect info, you see I'm connected to Postgres database with the user Postgres and host localhost port 5432. Okay, so this is the connect info. If I want to connect to test database, this database, another database, I can use /c test. Okay, so I'm now connected to test database as user Postgres. So this is all, and let me now create a database using create db utility. Let's see first how we do it. So I have already told you the syntax for this. We are going to create test12. This is our test database name. The owner of the database is Scott, port, and the user with which we are going to create this. Okay, so let's see. First let me show you, this is the owner. Okay, you see all earlier we have all the users Postgres, but now in our create with this we are going to create a user with Scott. The owner name is Scott. Okay, hyphen o, capital O, Scott. For test12 we have Scott owner. Enter, and then it will ask you the password for Postgres user because we are using Postgres here. Okay, it is taking time, just seconds. Okay, so let's see again how many databases we have now. You see test12 is created and you see the owner is Scott here. Rest all things are same. So we can use this test12 now here if we want to see test12. You see I'm connected to test12 now. Okay, so let's connect to some other test database, and now I'm going to drop this database so that we'll be creating that in. We are going to create this again with the utility. Okay, so let me move out from this so that I'll be using Scott user. I'll show you how why I'm using it. Okay, so I'm gonna PSQL hyphen u Scott hyphen d test. Okay, so I'm using Scott user for my connection and hyphen d is for database. So I'm going to connect to test database. So the password for Scott user. So I'm connected. Okay, so let's see. So I'm connected to database test as user Scott on host local host. Okay, so let's see if I have the ability to create the database or not. So for that you can use du, that will show you all the users. So you see, Scott does not have super user or create DB role. So how we grant this? Let me first move out from Scott queue. Okay, let me connect to Postgres user first, so that super user will grant permissions to this user. For when we are trying to connect to Postgres user, we need not to mention the database name all the time. Okay. Okay. So I am inside Postgres user. See, so Scott does not have create DB role. Okay. So how we grant this? Create. No, it's okay. So altered user Scott with create DB. So I'm altering this user with create DB. Let's do it. So I am done. So let's see again if we have the create DB privilege. Okay, so Scott now see has create DB privilege. Okay, so let's move out from this and try to connect to Scott so that Scott can create a database. -d test. First we need to mention some database, else we won't be able to. Okay, so I'm connected with Scott. So now let's try to create a database with this Scott user. Okay, so I'm using shell script now. Create database, which is bsql statement. Create database test12, the database name, and the owner is Scott. Okay, so earlier we see this is for databases /l. Owner of all the databases is Postgres. So let's see now. So database is created. Now let's see again. You see, so we have created new database with test12 and the owner is Scott here. So this is how you create the database and assign a user if assign a create DB role if the user do not has the privilege. Okay, so I have moved out of it. Let me revoke the permissions from Scott. So for that I need to move out and connect using capital U Postgres. Okay, so our work is done. We are going to see Scott has create DB privilege. We are going to revoke it. Alter user Scott with no create DB. See, earlier we have used alter user Scott with create DB. Now we are using no create DB. Altered. So Scott, we have revoked the permissions for create DB from Scott. So this is all from for creating the user uh, creating the database, and if the user do not has create DB privilege, how we grant it and how we revoke the permissions from a particular user to create the database. Also we have checked here, we have two options here to create the database. One is create DB utility, create DB and drop DB for dropping the database. Another one is through command line, which is our psql shell scripts. Okay, so this is how we use it. So thank you for watching this video. I'll be seeing you in my next video. Thanks.